Welcome. I am the Anonymous Weeb, or Weebs for short, here to provide my review of Burn the Witch, Chapter 2. This chapter opens up with the coverage of Ninny's life in Front London. Apparently, one of the members of Cecile died twice, by the name of Macy Baldur, has left, and hasn't made any sort of announcement about it, even after 7 days of leaving the group. This has sparked the news into attempting to show that Ninny denounced her, using a video of her saying that she was annoying. But before the story can go any deeper, the TV it's playing on gets blown up by a mysterious figure, who is thanked by another shadowed-out figure, who thanks them for being angry on their behalf. We then transition to Noelle, and what appears to be her usual morning ritual, with her watering her plant dragons. They look like plant pots, with faces on them, along with some having arms and wings. Honestly, they look adorable, and Noelle is quite sexy in her cleavage-revealing top, and it looks just so fluffy. Her pet dragon taps on the window to give her her newspaper, and we learn its name is Wordsworth. And damn, I'm jealous of that dragon, getting to shove its head into her chest like that. Well, then we get some more information on what sort of jobs people use light dragons for in Reverse London, such as boosting radio waves, producing clean water, or mass transport for witches and wizards. I like this because it builds on the world, because Reverse London seems to be limited in the area of London. It doesn't have available the same amount of natural resources available on Earth, so making up with that with the use of dragons is quite impressive. For instance, the fact that they use dragons to purify water, as they have a limited amount, is most likely due to the fact the area seems to exist within a pocket dimension. Not only does that show that they can use it for domestic uses, such as plant pots, which means that they can produce food from them, even within the space that they have is limited to only having London. While Noelle is reading the newspaper, you can hear Balgo in the background, separated in the same room though by a curtain with the words "Close till you die" written on the side facing him, and Welcome on her side. He's playing with cute little Sushi right out until Noelle tells him to answer her phone as she throws it over the curtain to him. Turns out Ninny is calling her, and he is initially reluctant to answer the call for her, only for her to respond to him to look at the newspaper, to which he declares he can't perform a magic scan, causing Noelle to sigh in annoyance. Then there is a pretty cool scene showing that the newspaper for both Reverse London and Front London is mixed together, but you need to perform a magic scan, which involves a witch or wizard touching the newspaper to see the reports of Reverse London, causing the Front London news to peel away. Turns out that Noelle is on the front cover of the newspaper, and while he's trying to figure out what this means, Noelle answers the call and holds it out to him. Considering that Ninny's desire is to achieve points as well as rank up to join Sabres, she's quite pissed about the fact that she's not on the front cover of the newspaper, while Noelle is, shouting down the phone her nickname. We get to learn the paper is supposed to report on the most active members of Wingbind of the day, and then there's only a few front-page articles each year. As Ninny starts to yell at him for picking up Noelle's phone, assuming he did it without permission, as well as laying into him because they're looking after him doesn't mean that they're friends, causing him to become confused and looking for Noelle for help, only for her to say that she gave it to him so he could take the brunt of Ninny's anger, before mentioning that no one is allowed to touch her phone without permission. They then get a call from the chief telling them that he has a job for them, but they don't consider doing it as it's Saturday, and that's their day off, something which only further demonstrates the differences between the western and eastern branches of the Soul Society, as I doubt Shinigami can just decide not to work because it's a Saturday. He, however, convinces them to come in for work by offering them 5 times pay as well as achievement points for a regular job. The scene then transitions once more to Wingbind's Piper's headquarters, where we have a small scene with Ninny complaining that the chief getting 5 times the reward just for coming to meet them and give them their assignment, with Noelle trying to calm her down with the logic that higher-ups bear the weight of the drawbacks, but also gain most benefits. Then you find out that their job is to deal with an illegally reared dragon. Apparently because they're part of Pipers, and Pipers are responsible for rearing of dragons, they're responsible with dealing with any illegally reared dragons, which Ninny and I honestly call out as being bullshit, because you shouldn't send a group of vets or a park ranger to deal with someone illegally raising wild animals. You'd send the police or something. But both her and Noelle accept it anyway, due to the rewards. But before they can head off for the job, the chief informs them that they have to take Balgo with them, because he can attract dragons to himself, so it would be helpful in the search, or at least that's the reason he gives them. Cue a scene of Ninny complaining about the fact that they have to take him, and Noelle is having to let him ride on her dragon, with him holding onto her waist, being his usual perverted self, talking about how he can feel the warm aura of his arms, having a chance to graze against her boobs. And look, man, I get she's hot, but some self-control. Do not spew that out would be great. You're not part of a harem ecchi series after all. His pervertedness causes Noelle to question if he has considered falling from a great height would kill him. But just before they can head off for the job, Noelle gives Balgo a piper's mantle and a pipe. Don't know if it's got any magical properties yet, but he makes it clear that they're just so that Balgo can make it seem like he is part of the group. But wouldn't it be epic or incredibly stupid that the thing turns out to be magical and he does something in the next 2 chapters that causes everyone just a massive headache? And as the 3 of them arrive at the general area where the illegal dragon should be, Ninny starts to yell at Balgo again for not being able to sense the dragon, despite apparently having no special abilities at all other than attracting dragons to him. For his part, he doesn't seem all that bothered by it, playing it off. Right before they can begin searching, however, an explosion goes off in the distance, causing Noelle and him to go and have a look, with Ninny coming along as Noelle comments that there might be reward points in it for her, even if it's not to do with the dragon. Turns out that the building attacked was the Realist, an office building that was for the same news network that was reporting on Ninny at the beginning of the chapter. I wonder if this has anything to do with those individuals we saw at the beginning of the chapter, who seemed not too pleased with the news broadcast. Balgo brings up the fact that Ninny was on the news recently, causing her to sigh at how they spun what happened to their own ends, telling us, if we didn't already know, that that's not exactly how it went down as they portrayed it. And as her fans begin to approach her, we learn that from one of them that a man went in just before the explosion went off. But as she's in the process of thanking them, she spots someone on the higher floors where the explosion took place, someone she recognises, causing her to fly out there, and oh, wouldn't you know it, it turns out to be that former band member Macy. Guess what? She's the one that's been illegally raising a dragon. How unexpected that this character, only introduced at the beginning of this chapter as maybe having something against one of our main characters, turns out to be the antagonist of this chapter. Who would have thought? As the 2 of them have a back and forth, with Ninny asking her how she got into reverse London in the first place, and telling her that she needs to hand over the dragon or it's too late, as it's a felony, and it's for her own sake, causing Macy to shout at her that Ninny's the one who taught her not to trust anyone who says they're doing something for her own sake. And then she sends a dragon to attack her, which is named Ellie, by the way, only for it to be knocked back by Noelle's spell as she flew up, leaving Balgo behind, as it might be too dangerous for him, so he should try to blend in with the crowd. Noelle ends up commenting to Ninny that she doesn't look happy despite it being the dragon they were looking for, only for Ninny to respond that she'd have to be a psychopath to be happy that the criminal was someone that she knew personally. As Noelle starts to recognise Macy, the crazy woman starts throwing a cabinet at her for all things, as she turns out to have the hots for Ninny, and I don't blame her. I mean, have you seen those thighs? Those juicy, juicy thighs. Damn, girl. But you still can't just go attacking anyone who is remotely friendly with her. Makes you look a bit creepy, after all. The 2 of them end up retreating, with Noelle being visibly confused as the girl's attacking her and screaming about killing her, despite never having actually met her before in her life, to which Ninny explains Macy's issue, before telling Noelle to distract her while she goes above. And while Ninny goes to fly over the top, she ends up getting attacked by Bruno, who has knocked her off her dragon, forcing Noelle to catch her, as Bruno asks if she's dead, as he'll have to write an incident report if she died on the job, while Noelle stares at him in shock. And this is where the chapter ends. Looks like the idea of them trying to assassinate Balgo stealthily is out, and that they would rather just blast Ninny and Noelle out of the way before they take care of him. Why Bruno thought it would be necessary, with the pair of them showing willingness and understanding of the laws of reverse London, that surrounding light dragons, so if given orders, they would likely hand him over peacefully. Is just beyond me. I don't see the need for this violence. I wonder, however, if he's working alone, or if the other leaders are approaching Balgo on the ground, where Noel left him. Anyway, it looks like we get a fight scene next chapter between them, which would be cool, as for all of Bleach characters being able to stand on air, aerial combat was something that was surprisingly underdeveloped and utilised in Bleach. Whatever happens, it's hard to see how Kuba can wrap things up in 2 more chapters without it leaving a bunch of plot threads just hanging, but we'll just have to wait and see. Whatever happens, I've been the Anonymous Weeb, or Weebs for short. If you like the video, leave a like. If you dislike, then leave a dislike. And if you want to see more videos by me in the future revolving around Burn the Witch and the other manga I've taken an interest in currently, which include Shimatsu no Valkyrie and Chainsaw Man, feel free to subscribe and maybe leave a comment with some ideas of other series you'd like me to take a look at.